Overnight, Iran's supreme leader warning any U.S. strike on the region will spark an all-out regional war. But President Trump still not ruling out an attack.
Could you give us an update on where your thinking is right now with Iran, if you have made a final decision on what you want to do?
I mean, I certainly can't tell you that, but we do have very big, powerful ships heading in that direction. I hope they negotiate something that's acceptable. If you could make a negotiated deal that would be satisfactory with no nuclear weapons, they should do that, but I don't know that they will. But they are talking to us, seriously talking to us.
Meanwhile, fresh satellite images you see here showing new roofs built over damaged buildings that bombed out nuclear sites struck by the U.S. and Israel last summer. Retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel James Carafano joins us now. Colonel, thanks for getting up early with us. This is very interesting. How do you see where things stand? You heard in that soundbite President Trump aboard Air Force One saying that the conversations are serious from Iran, but yet at the same time, he's also saying that he's not afraid to strike.
Right. Just to get, and for the record, I really like the Melania film. So
we've got you on record for that.
So the key variable here, if he's looking at the Venezuela model, is Trump is not going to do a military strike to take down the regime unless he has something that he's confident can replace that. So that is really key. Now, he might do a more limited nuclear strike. I mean, a more limited strike, just striking the nuclear facilities, kind of following up from last time, also would send a strong signal. So he has a lot of options here other than just take down the regime or do nothing.
Colonel, is it your sense, though, that the Iranians are actually negotiating in good faith? Or are they, critics pointed out that President Putin may have played President Trump, dragging out negotiations. Do you think this is the Iranians, in an act of desperation with such an armada surrounding them, are just trying to stall?
So there's a couple of things that could be going on. First of all, this part of the world, honor is power. If you're not respected unless you look strong. So the Iranians are always going to talk tough, regardless of how desperate their situation is. That's just the way you do it in this region. So you can almost ignore everything they say publicly. Now, we don't know what the back channel talks are. They could be with some people in the regime that's actually negotiating a deal. They might be with some people in the regime like we saw in Venezuela, which is like, okay, we'll get rid of some people and then we'll cut a deal. I think we just don't know. But this is very Trumpian in the sense that Trump likes to set up confrontations that are win-win. So regardless of what the adversary does, I come off better than I started before. And I think that he's achieved that here. He's either going to get the regime to make some concessions, or he's going to do some strikes to belittle them, or he's going to drive a scenario like we saw in Venezuela. And I think, you know what? I think he's fine with that.
And Colonel, you mentioned the Iranian Islamic regime. So timing, of course, is everything. And many have pointed out, to include our own General Jack Keane, that this regime has never been weaker. What do you make of the timing of it?
Yeah, so this is true, and this, I think, is the key thing, right? Because look at it from the American perspective. What's in America's best interest? So, yes, we'd love for the Iranian people to be free and have their own government, but what's critically in our interest is this is a regime that is weak, that can't mess around in Syria, that can't threaten Israel, that isn't funding surrogates, that isn't being powerful allies for the Russians and the Chinese. So these are all things that Trump can accomplish with a weak Iran. So, again, regardless of the course of action he picks, at the end of the day, he wants a weak regime. And this is absolutely not going to lead to a larger regional conflict. We had two major strikes from the Israelis and the Americans on the Iranian regime. The rest of the regime did nothing. If somebody strikes this regime or weakens it more, the rest of the region's going to do nothing.
Yeah, we shall see where it goes. A lot of eyes on that. Lieutenant Colonel James Carafano, thank you. Have a great Sunday.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.